Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take your sources, stacks of them sometimes, and really pull out the key insights, the nuggets of knowledge you need.
Yeah.
Today, we're embarking on a really fascinating journey. We're looking into the life of Errol Musk. He's the father of Elon Musk, who is, right now, the richest man in the world. And the sources you've shared with us, they give a very candid look, often surprising, sometimes definitely controversial. It's a life that clearly shaped one of the most influential figures of our time. So our mission today is basically to unpack all these narratives, distill the key takeaways, and help you understand the core of this really compelling story.
What's fascinating here, I think, is how you get these multiple perspectives. It really reveals the complexities of, well, memory, family dynamics, the whole pursuit of ambition. We'll explore Errol's own words on, gosh, everything from his controversial views to the earliest signs of Elon's genius. We'll try and connect the dots.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's start right at the beginning. South Africa, a turbulent place certainly where Errol Musk grew up. We're diving into Errol's early life there. And South Africa then was defined by apartheid, that system of institutionalized racial segregation. And right from the start, Errol offers a unique perspective on it. He describes it as something inherited, from European powers, not uniquely South African. He even claims quite strongly that today there's absolutely no racism in South Africa. He says he'd give you $100 if you could prove him wrong.
Mm-hmm. And that historical context is just crucial for understanding his worldview, I think. Errol remembers being at Nelson Mandela's trial back in '63. Mandela faced charges including murder. The death sentence was commuted, famously. But Errol says people were literally crying in the streets because they wanted him hanged. And interestingly, much later, Errol actually compared Mandela to Tommy Robinson. He suggested both were political prisoners who might, rise to become leaders.
Wow. What does that comparison even tell us about how Errol sees justice or
Yes.
leadership? It's quite something.
It certainly paints a picture, a very rough environment. Violence wasn't just, historical background noise. It was personal for the family. Kimball Musk, Elon's brother, he describes this really harrowing incident, seeing a stabbing on a train, remembering how sticky the blood was. It's incredibly vivid.
And Errol himself, he mentioned just days before an interview, his own lady friend was attacked with a knife at home. So these early experiences, steeped in political tension, personal danger,
Yeah.
it really underscores a kind of maybe resilience in Errol.
I think so. It's a backdrop of constant threat. That would definitely shape your outlook. Then in the '80s, you had the world turning against apartheid, the
Yeah.
Sun City song, the boycotts.
We had a big cultural boycott.
Yeah, but Errol says he was going to performances there regularly. He saw huge stars, Frank Sinatra, Queen, Rod Stewart, Julio Iglesias. So he kind of questions how much impact that boycott really had if these big names were still showing up. Makes you wonder, doesn't it, how much pressure was felt on the ground.
It's fascinating, his perspective then. He actually predicted apartheid would last another 25 years. This was in a 1976 CBS interview, so putting its end around the year 2000.
But reality turned out very different.
Completely. From '85, after P.W. Botha's defiant speech, the international sanctions hit hard. The landscape changed so fast, Errol mentioned white people moving into trailer parks. His own career in property development just stopped dead. He ended up fixing car axles, greasing cars.
Wow, quite a fall.
Yeah, it highlights how volatile things were and the direct impact on people's lives, including his.
And amidst all that, you have this shocking home invasion story Errol told. He describes 7 or 8 men breaking in.
7 or 8.
That's what he said. He fired 2 shots in self-defense, he claims,
Yeah.
and they fired back 52 rounds. And his 6-year-old daughter was there the whole time, which is just terrifying to imagine.
Absolutely terrifying.
He believes the motive might have been muti, using body parts for medicine, something he says is known in South Africa. He claims he killed 3 of them, and adds, really chillingly, that his daughter's head would have been dangling from a taxi if he hadn't acted. It's a stark story of survival.
Just incredible. Okay, so amidst all this turbulence, this political change, Errol's personal life was also shifting. Let's talk about his first marriage, to May, Elon's mother. Errol says it was a 10-year marriage, ended around 1980. He claims she initiated the divorce, and he just agreed, said it was finalized in a week.
Right, but this is where the stories really diverge quite dramatically. May, in her book, she accuses Errol of abuse, including pulling a knife on her. Serious accusation.
Very serious.
But Errol vehemently denies this. He points out, 44 years passed since the divorce, and none of this was ever mentioned. He even has a letter, supposedly from a former business partner, saying there was no abuse, that May always wanted to be with him.
So what's his theory then?
His theories are that May was actually upset he didn't fight the divorce, that he just granted it so quickly.
Hmm. It really makes you think about memory, doesn't it? And how conflicting accounts can exist within a family, especially such a high-profile one. Absolutely, the nature of truth and perspective. So after the divorce, Elon chose to live with Errol. How does Errol describe that time? Errol paints it as quite a fun environment. They were at a horse stud, the boys rode motorbikes. Friends apparently described Elon as very happy then.
Right, and then there's that, rather strange anecdote, the jacuzzi party.
Oh yeah, that one. Elon was 9.
9 years old. The host apparently threw towels at everyone, announced they were all getting naked for the jacuzzi.
Which is odd, even for then, as Errol admitted.
Definitely odd for the time. Errol says Elon wasn't interested, so he steered him towards a library they had there, a fantastic library he called it, and then Errol joined the party himself.
A jacuzzi party with a 9-year-old present. It's certainly a glimpse into a pretty unconventional childhood.
It really is. Speaks to a certain, well, unorthodox environment. But you also see that focus in Elon, right? Even at 9, choosing the library.
Yeah, that focus is a recurring theme.
It really underscores that predisposition for intellectual stuff, which then leads into the computers. This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
Okay, so Elon's fascination starts early.
Around 10 or 11, Errol talks about Elon insisting on getting this expensive IBM PC. It cost $1,500 back in 1982. That's like, what, $9,000 today? Huge money then.
For a home computer in 82, definitely.
And Elon taught himself DOS programming on it. DOS, disk operating system, the basic software for early PCs. He creates a game called Blaster.
Blaster, I remember hearing about that.
And sells it for $500, which is maybe $1,400, $1,500 in today's money. And it got published in PC Magazine as a kid.
That's incredible. Just self-taught and published.
It really is. And linking back to that focus, Errol mentions that around age 7 or 8, the school actually called Elon retarded.
Seriously, well,
Because of that intense focus, they described him just staring out windows, completely impervious to any distraction. Errol now interprets this as, maybe a form of Asperger's or just hyperfocus. A trait he thinks is incredibly useful for Elon now. Lets him just cut out the world.
it's quite a reframing, isn't it? Taking something seen as a deficit back then and seeing it as a core strength now.
Exactly. How different lenses can interpret the same behavior. But high school wasn't easy. There was a really serious bullying incident.
Right, I read about that. He was badly beaten.
Horrifically. Hospitalized for 10 days. Apparently it happened after Elon called a classmate stupid. Tragically, that classmate's father had just committed suicide.
Oh, it's an awful context.
Errol says he saw the traumatized boy afterwards and dropped the police case. But Elon's account of what happened after the hospital is starkly different.
How so?
Elon claims that when he got home, his father screamed at him for an hour, called him an idiot, worthless.
Wow. But Errol denies this.
Completely denies it. Says he would have been teaching Elon to be careful, not coddling him, but certainly not screaming abuse like that.
Again, these incredibly conflicting narratives around really painful moments. It's hard to reconcile them.
It really deepens the complexity of their relationship, doesn't it? And maybe connects to Errol's views on language, too.
How do you mean?
Well, Errol expresses strong disapproval of Elon using profanity publicly, even if it's quoting a movie.
Like the douchebags comment?
Exactly, or saying things like, I'll fuck him in the face. Errol warns that in South Africa, language like that could get you punched, and the police might just see it as, quote, retribution. He argues it's not language for someone in a position of authority, maybe a generational thing, or cultural.
Could be. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about the money, the mindset, the empire building. Errol himself had entrepreneurial success early on.
Yeah, he was a successful consulting engineer by his mid-20s, owned a plane, nice house. But as we said, things got tough after apartheid hit his main business.
So during those leaner times, he got into gemstones.
That's his claim. Co-ownership or shares in Zambian emerald mines, selling rough stones to high-end places like Tiffany, he gave an example. An $800 stone he sold might retail for over $21,000 at Tiffany's. He says this business sustained them during the tough periods.
But this is another point of contention with Elon, isn't it?
It is. Elon has publicly disputed his father's account of the emerald mine wealth.
Okay, so the emerald mine story is disputed. But what about funding Elon's first venture, Zip2?
Here, Errol's account is quite detailed. He says he provided the initial seed money. And to do it, he sold his yacht and his bush farm at a huge loss.
How big a loss?
He says the yacht cost $400,000, sold for $105,000. The farm, worth maybe $800,000, went for $234,000. Just getting pennies on the dollar, basically.
Wow, and getting the money out of South Africa was hard too.
Very hard. He mentions using some system involving transferring money via Israel, losing like 25% in commission. He sent maybe $44,000, $45,000, so they probably got around $30,000, $32,000, plus some cash from his business allowances.
And Kimball, Elon's brother, actually confirmed this was crucial.
Yes, Kimball acknowledged it, said they could not have lasted the 6 months without that money. Said it was for their food and rent. Basic survival.
Yet, Elon has publicly said he received no financial help from his father. That's a pretty significant discrepancy.
It's huge. It really gets to the heart of their differing narratives, doesn't it? And maybe their relationship dynamics.
What do you think it tells us?
Well, you could see Errol positioning himself as the foundational support, the one who made it possible, while Elon often emphasizes the self-made narrative, maybe, to build his own mythos.
That makes sense, and this difference feeds into their whole wealth mentality, maybe.
I think so. Elon's upbringing, Errol describes it with Rolls-Royces, private planes, skiing in Europe. It shaped a very different approach to money.
Different from Errol's own.
Very different. Errol came from a poorer background, seems more cautious financially. Elon, on the other hand, was willing to risk everything. After selling PayPal, he famously poured almost all his $176 million into SpaceX and Tesla, nearly went broke.
Incredible risk tolerance.
Which is why Errol apparently always predicted Elon would become the richest man. He saw that relentless drive, said he won't stop until he's #1.
Right, and speaking of building giant SpaceX, Errol was involved there too early on.
He was certainly aware. Elon initially invested $100,000 in the Mars Society before deciding, heck, I'll build my own rockets. And Errol even claims he gave some technical advice on baffles for the rockets after the third launch nearly failed.
Baffles, like inside the fuel tanks.
Yeah, to control fuel slosh, I think. And then the fourth launch was this massive success, achieved orbit with incredible precision off by only, 5 seconds? True.
Amazing for such an early rocket.
Yeah.
Shows that a rapid learning curve.
Definitely. And beyond SpaceX, the empire just grew, didn't it? Tesla, Solar City, OpenAI, Neuralink, the Boring Company.
And then the acquisition of Twitter, now X. That was something else.
Fascinating story there, according to Errol. He says Elon initially supported Biden, but that shifted dramatically after Elon felt excluded from a White House event for EV makers.
Felt snubbed.
That's the implication. Elon started seeing Twitter as a political arm of the Democrats, even tied to the crooked FBI in his view. So Errol says Elon decided to buy it for free speech, even though he was kind of forced into paying that $44 billion price tag when, arguably, it was worth much less and losing $1 billion a month.
But Errol thinks it was the right move.
He seems confident, asserts Twitter is doing 10 times more now and will eventually be worth $100 billion, believes in Elon's vision, clearly.
And looking even further ahead, Elon's prediction about Tesla robots outnumbering people by 2040.
Errol completely agrees with that kind of bold prediction. He connects it to Elon's past foresight, predicting newspapers going online, modems becoming huge back in the 90s before the internet was even big in South Africa.
So he sees a pattern of accurate long-range prediction.
Exactly. And Errol himself is apparently working on an institute to study space-time travel, believes humanity needs fusion power to really advance. So there's this shared interest in, huge future-defining tech.
A deep thread connecting them, despite everything else.
Oh.
Okay, let's move into later life. And some deeply controversial relationships. Errol's second marriage was to Haida.
Yes. She was 25 when they married in 1992. They divorced, then actually remarried in 98. Their daughter Rose was born in 99. And Errol says he then worked to get Haida's other 3 children, including her daughter Jana, out of foster care.
Okay, so Jana is his stepdaughter.
Correct. And this is where the story takes a very, very sensitive turn. Errol later had 2 children with Jana, his stepdaughter.
Right. That news caused quite a stir.
Understandably. He recounts Jana contacting him around 2014. She was struggling. Her own child was in social welfare. She was living in a storeroom. He started supporting her. In 2016, she moved in with him. And 2 months later, she was pregnant with his child. DNA confirmed it.
The age difference is significant, too.
42 years. Errol's stance is, quote, no rules in love and war. He even brought up Woody Allen's situation as a comparison.
And how did the rest of the family react? According to Errol.
Surprisingly accepting, based on his account. He says Haida, Jana's mother, had no interest at all, no issue with it.
Really?
That's what he claims. And Kimball apparently just said, it happens. Added that he himself had a child with someone who worked in his restaurant while he was married.
Okay.
Errol's daughters, Ollie and Rose, were initially surprised, he says, but that it's way long gone now. Claims they all had Christmas together recently.
It paints a picture of very unconventional family dynamics, to say the least.
Extremely unconventional. And he also mentioned about 5 other women have claimed he fathered their children over the last 20 years or so.
Wow. Okay. Now, politically, you mentioned a falling out between Errol and Elon.
Yes, quite a dramatic one in 2016. It was at Errol's 70th birthday party. Errol apparently voiced his support for Donald Trump during the dinner. He says Elon's crowd erupted in massive laughter, and Elon himself called Trump evil.
At his father's 70th birthday dinner.
According to Errol, yes. He says he was just left sitting there alone after that. It really captures that clash of values, doesn't it?
Definitely. But despite that, you said there's been a reconciliation recently.
Seems so. Errol went to a Starship launch down at Boca Chica, and Elon publicly put his arm around him, said, "My dad taught me everything I know about engineering."
That's quite a statement, given their history.
A huge public acknowledgement. Errol described it simply as a good meeting, a potentially powerful moment of healing, perhaps.
Interesting. Now, shifting slightly, what about Elon as a father himself? Errol touched on that.
He did. He sort of echoed his own past struggles, acknowledging Elon faces challenges balancing that intense work life with raising his, 12 children now?
12, I believe.
Errol notes Elon is making an effort now, trying to spend more time with his youngest son, X.
And what about this demon mode idea? Elon's intense focus, but also the short temper.
Right. Errol actually sees that demon mode as a necessary trait for successful leaders. He compares it to Steve Jobs' famous reality distortion field.
The idea that leaders have to push people beyond what they think is possible.
Exactly. Errol believes it's essential to avoid, as he put it, going down in flames. That intensity is required for that level of success, in his view.
It's an intriguing way to frame it, framing that intensity, even the temper, as necessary. But you could also argue it creates a difficult, maybe even toxic work environment, couldn't you? Burns people out.
That's the other side of the coin, absolutely. It's that double-edged sword of extreme ambition. It drives innovation, but potentially at a significant human cost. How do you balance that?
A crucial question for any leader, especially one like Elon.
Definitely. And finally, just touching on family finances again. Errol mentioned Elon's family foundation.
Right, supporting the extended family.
Yeah. Apparently, all the single women in the family, including Errol's ex-wife, Haida, receive a monthly income from it.
And Errol himself. He said he's self-supporting.
But he did receive help. There was a $400,000 gap in his medical costs that Elon covered. And Elon apparently suggested buying him a car, which resulted in a Bentley Flying Spur showing up.
A Bentley. So even with all the disagreements and the self-sufficiency claims, there's still this financial interdependence.
Seems so. It adds another layer to their complex relationship.
Wow. What a journey we've taken today. Really diving deep into the very multifaceted life of Errol Musk, discovering how his story, with all its, complexities and contradictions, is just so deeply intertwined with the making of Elon Musk.
Absolutely. We've seen resilience, definitely, an incredibly unconventional upbringing, and a real willingness to challenge norms, all shaping Errol's life, but also, arguably, contributing to that relentless drive and vision we see in his son.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it, when you hear these narratives from within the same family diverging so sharply, how much of what we think of as truth is just perspective? What does that teach us about the stories we tell ourselves and tell others?
And it raises that question, too. How much of someone's, extraordinary ambition comes directly from their earliest experiences? And how much might be a reaction against those experiences? Maybe even a kind of rebellion.
Definitely something to mull over as you go about your day.
Hey.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.